In an observation of experts, foreign policy has rarely been a preoccupation for American voters, but they say the current U.S. administration's approach to events in the Middle East might change that in the 2024 presidential campaign. In an exclusive interview with New Time, Dr. Sahar Hamis, a professor of communication at the University of Maryland and president of the Arab-U.S. Association for Communication Educators, noted that U.S. policy regarding the crisis in Gaza and rising tensions with Iran likely won't dominate voters' priorities in November. However, the usual dynamics of foreign policy could be challenged in this campaign. Could the situation in the Middle East influence the positions of U.S. presidential candidates? Baljan Samigulina explored this topic.
It is a commonplace observation by analysts that American elections are not dedicated on foreign policy. As the Middle East spiraled towards full-scale war, the U.S. vice presidential debate held earlier this week between Democrat Tim Walz and Republican James David Vance focused largely on domestic issues. The presidential debate was the first and only one for the vice presidential nominees, and the final debate before Election Day with a little over a month to go. Commentators say compared to last month's clash between Democrat Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump, it was heavy on policy arguments and light on personal attacks. Notably, the VP debate opens with a question about the Middle East, which is now becoming a priority in the foreign policy.
I think you want to solve this problem. I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this.
The crisis in the Middle East was brought during the first presidential debate held on September 10th between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Yet, despite the heightened attention, both candidates adopted strikingly similar positions, battling over who has the most pro-Israel credentials, said Dr. Sahar Hamis, Associate Professor of Communication at the University of Maryland. However, in a strong close race, the Middle Eastern ambivalence could work against the presidential Democrat candidates in the House and the Senate and swing U.S. election for Trump, she added.
We have not seen this policy change, and many Arab Americans and Muslim Americans do not expect to see a policy change under a Harris administration. Definitely, the worsening of the situation in the Middle East is gonna affect the chances of both candidates, actually, the Republican and the Democratic, to get the Arab American and Muslim American vote. Who is it gonna hurt the most? I think it's going to hurt Harris the most rather than Trump if she does not get these votes. And that might swing the election in the direction of Donald Trump, but it might be a very, very thin margin between both candidates.
Over the past month, the U.S. has seen visible protests over war in Gaza. Student movements in over 120 campuses, for instance, gained momentum driven by a sense of social justice and solidarity with Palestinians. Students have organized protest sit-ins and rallies to demand an end to the war and U.S. support for Israel military actions. Polling suggests that young progressive voters are more inclined to be critical on this issue and perhaps to question candidates' generally supportive stance. Even though there has been an effective voice for young students across university campuses in the United States, they are not likely to follow the same or closer to that magnitude over the situations in Lebanon and Iran.
We haven't witnessed yet the momentum on campuses across the U.S. and elsewhere regarding what is happening in Lebanon and what might actually happen in the region moving forward. There might be further escalations. That is expected, unfortunately, but we have not seen this student momentum build yet. I think that it's not going to be of the same magnitude. I expect that there may be some protests here and there on some U.S. campuses that might very well be expected, but I don't expect that it's going to be with the same magnitude.
Thus, the foreign policy elite may debate the war in Gaza, and some may seek a different approach from Washington. But experts say among the electorate, the Democrats' administration policy will likely continue to enjoy broad support. Republican candidates will not find much exploit here too, but a lot may change between now and November 2024. Baljan Samigulina, New Time.